call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's open session meeting today, Monday, June 16th. We apologize for the delay in the start. However, our executive session went a little bit over. So I'm going to start this meeting by taking a roll call vote of the Board of Selectmen. Robin Hunter present.
Dave Haviland present.
Cam Hudson present.
And the first item of business here is citizens' comments, but I don't see any attendees. So,
No,
all
I don't
right.
see him.
So then we'll move to item 1.1, which is a discussion regarding an intermunicipal grant reimbursement agreement between the town of Dover, Needham for fiscal year 2025. And we need to vote to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement. But before we do that, I'm going to ask the town administrator to give us a little bit of background on this agreement.
I'd be happy to. So as a board roll call, and Cam, for your benefit, because you weren't here yet, back in September of last year, you met with Kay Peterson, the chair of Board of Health, and Jason Belmonte, the health director, and voted to enter an IMA that would allow us to have a full-time public health nurse. This position was part-time funded here in Dover, but through this grant agreement, we were able to secure a full-time position, and our nurse shares time between here and Sherborne. It's been a great addition. The position's been very well received. What we're asking you to execute today is simply an agreement to allow us to get the money. So to get reimbursed for the money we're paying out for that position. So nothing new here. This just effectuates us being able to get reimbursed for that position.
And we've already hired the nurse, so.
And I think it's working out really well.
Yes.
Yes,
That's what I've heard.
The feedback's been very good.
Well, I don't need any more discussion.
No, I don't either.
Neither do I. So I move to approve the intermunicipal grant reimbursement agreement between the town of Needham and the town of Dover for fiscal year 2025 and authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement.
Second.
And thank you for sending along all those agreements. All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
I Cam Hudson.
I started looking through them and then I was, to be honest,
Yeah.
towards the end, I didn't read them too close.
Yes, I did the same thing, Robin.
I will say, Mike, on page 15, there's the original signatory is no longer a member of the board. Does that need to be re-signed?
No, it's voted at the time and it's in effect as a result of that vote.
Right.
Good catch, but no.
Okay.
But one question that I do have, just out of curiosity, why are we having the agreement with Needham if we're sharing the nurse with Sherborne?
Great question. So the state has set up these public health, I believe they're called excellence
Centers of
districts.
Excellence, I think.
Yeah, and so Needham is the host for that. It includes Dover, Sherborne, there's other communities around Needham, but the funding is funneled through that center in Needham. But that's a great question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's hope I can get there. So the next item on our agenda is we're starting with our reorganization for the new fiscal year. And so typically what we do is the Board of Selectmen have to appoint or reappoint individuals on boards, committees, and commissions. And also there are certain staff members who are also appointed or reappointed to certain respective positions. So tonight we're going to start with the first list of those appointees. So there was a note, which is great. Thank you for putting this on there, that they do not need to be voted on individually. So we can vote on all these appointments as one in one motion. So what I will do is just go through. So Mike, my question was, do I need to actually read each of these appointments? I guess so. Otherwise you wouldn't.
Yeah, you do. If you don't mind, just to quickly go through them, that would be helpful. Yep.
All right. So first of all, there are a few individual appointments on various terms for various boards. So the first one is the Conservation Commission, and these are reappointments of Sarah Monaco and Anna Nagy for 3-year terms effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Next is the Recycling Committee, and that is a new appointment of Joan Roth and the reappointment of Carol Lisbon, Matt Hadge, and Lisa Mullen, all for 3-year terms effective July 1st, 2025 and through June 30th, 2028. And I would also like to take this moment to thank Janet Greenwood for her long-term service to the Recycling Committee. She has graciously stated that she will continue to volunteer, but just is stepping down as a member of the committee. I mean, Janet has done a lot for this committee, and I certainly appreciate everything she has done. And Joan has big shoes to fill, but I think Janet might help her.
So very well said. Hear, hear.
All right, so thank you very much, Janet. The next are individual appointments for 1-year terms effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And these are primarily staff appointments. So the first one is Mike Angieri as town engineer, Kevin McCabe as groundwater bylaw enforcement agent, Michael Blanchard as personnel rules omnibudsman and affirmative action officer, Robin Tassino as personnel rule omnibudsman and Title IX non-discrimination coordinator, Bob Tosi as right to know coordinator, superintendent of streets and hazardous waste coordinator, Nina Pickering Cook, town council, and Nina is from Anderson Krieger. Chief Joseph Vinci, chief of police and chief of communications. Walter Abalone, inspector of buildings and zoning enforcement officer and floating dock inspector. Joseph Doyle, local building inspector. Felix Zimmel, back up to the building inspector. Paul Carew, Veterans Service Director, Joanne Russo, Treasurer Collector, Jennifer Pink, Assistant Treasurer, Janice McGovern, Assistant Collector and Payroll Coordinator. The next are police officers, Sergeant Todd Wilcox, Sergeant Ryan Manise, Sergeant Joe Wooland, Sergeant Charles Marsher, Detective Matthew Lavery, Officer Richard Collymore, Officer Nicole Bratcher Heffernan, Officer David Chasen, Officer Catherine Kalaudacek, Officer Ryan Sullivan, Officer Edward McGuire, Officer Colin Young, Officer Jeffrey Lynch, Officer Bruce Maggio, Officer Anthony Madden, Officer Michael O'Brien, and Animal Control Officer Christine Dinatelli. I apologize if I butchered anybody's name.
I think you did a great job. I'm impressed.
So I move to appoint or reappoint all individuals to the town's boards, committees, commissions, and staff members to various positions as presented.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
I, Cam Hudson. Just as a matter of curiosity, what is a right to know coordinator?
You don't have the right to know.
Good answer, Dave. I like that.
So that has to do with, I always think of it as like chemicals that you use, things like that. So you have a requirement to maintain the label, safety information, what's in the products, so that if an employee is using those substances, they can go to the right to know coordinator and get that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next item on business is update on fiscal year 25 goals and priorities. So this is your final presentation, I guess.
That's right. So I just had a couple updates. So one is, I believe it was your last meeting that we voted on the energy aggregation, our vendor for RFP. And I just want to say it's already very quickly moving, which is exciting. Wow. So Chris and I had a prep meeting with the vendor last week, and then today we had a meeting with the DOER, which is part of the process. We're required to meet with them to talk a little bit about, introduce ourselves. So we continue to move forward with that.
But it's still a 12-month process.
Unfortunately, yes, it's not. We're hoping a little sooner than that, but it doesn't happen tomorrow, as we've learned, sadly. The other piece I just wanted to update you on is that we also are trying to move forward very quickly with our permitting software. In order to help this move forward, we have worked and designated our health director, Jason Belmonte, as what's the right title, Chris? Our project manager, implementation manager.
Yep.
As you know, Chris and I, while we would be very pleased to do everything, we just don't have the bandwidth. So bringing Jason on board, Jason is a land use department, which is our initial focus of this software, and also he has participated in implementation of online permitting in another community.
Oh, that's awesome.
We think that'll be really, really helpful. So very excited to kick that off as well.
Well, I'm glad that he was willing to do this. This is great for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. I thank Chris for soliciting him and getting him to agree. This is really exciting, but it needs to be successful. Right. And if we don't have the support and the push behind it, that was our biggest fear. So having someone that can dedicate that time and we know has the experience in the bandwidth is great.
Right. And I know Felix Zimmel has also served in another town as well. And you have, and I think Chris may have, so we really have a strong bench for once.
It's great.
So that's it?
Yeah, that's all I had for today. Chris, did you have anything else that I didn't hit on?
No, those are the two big items. It's probably be for next meeting, but we're going to be kicking off. We did meet with Collins Center in terms of the capital improvement plan for next year and years beyond. So nothing really to report, although we are going to be kicking that off hopefully next week.
Okay. And we have our first, hopefully one of two goal and objectives meetings for fiscal year 2026 next Tuesday, I guess.
So it'll be next Monday. Monday, 2 p.m. in person. Right. And you're right. Yes, it'll be a planning meeting, but we'll also be adding some regular business to that meeting as well.
Okay.
And that's in person, right?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So it's after Carl's. Is this his final farewell party?
Yeah, well, we think so.
So
he
that's
just likes pizza parties.
Who can blame him?
Right.
Well, that'll be good. Okay, so that's a good day.
Yeah, I put both on my calendar, so
great.
Because I love pizza, so I'm not gonna miss it. And I feel as though Carl is due all of our respect. He really helped us out tremendously, both times. So
yep.
Oh, without a doubt. Make sure you get a really good pizza for him.
Or maybe 2.
Yeah, right. So,
So now, I don't know if now is a good time to talk about this, but planning for the meeting on Monday, should we send any ideas to you, or should we wait until the meeting?
Yeah, so it would be really helpful if you have projects, goals and objectives, focus areas ahead of time. If you could send them to us, what we'll do is compile those, make note if people have matching ones, just to have some starting discussion point for Monday.
Okay.
We did that last year for the first time, and it was really helpful. I think we were able to do everything in 2 meetings, as opposed to other years where we've had 3 or 4 meetings.
Okay.
So if you could do that, that would be terrific.
Now, as far as special projects go, like for instance, that sidewalk task force, will you just automatically add those onto the list?
So all the ones that we can know, that's one, for example, yes, that's on there, but don't hesitate to write it down just in case it slips, something slipped one of our minds.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
so I sent you 2 emails, Mike. One was the areas of interest on the committees, and then I sent you one today on the goals.
That's great. And while you mentioned it, that's the other piece too. At the meeting on Monday, we'll also try to finalize committee assignments. So again, if you're prepared to either ahead of time or at the meeting, anything that you're interested in taking on, or in case of Robin and Dave, anything you think that's appropriate to let go. What we will send out in the packet is the board requested. Not every committee has a reoccurring meeting day, but some have days they try for. So we've indicated those so that you can look at your schedule. If you have a problem every Monday, for example, I think Dave does, that's not a great committee for you to be on if they meet Monday. So we'll get that out in your packet.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Have patience with me as the learner on the committee. I'm still getting up to speed on all of this stuff, but I will certainly try and engage on that as well, Mike. So thank you.
Right. And usually the first year for a member, we try and give you a lighter schedule.
Thank you.
But Cam,
what happened to last year?
Yeah, well, this was extenuating circumstances. Really what I think there are like 3 committees that are heavy lifts, like warrant, capital, and the planning board.
Yeah.
Right. So we should definitely not give two of those. And then then some of the other committees we can just divide up. Like I feel horrible because Concom, I have not been able to make any of their meetings. I made 2, I think, which is
Having been
terrific.
a longer term member of both of those, the warrant committee and the capital budget, I certainly wouldn't object to being a member of them, but I think I would learn a lot more if I started interacting with other boards and committees on the town. So I'm open-minded either way, but
Okay.
I'd be prepared to defer those to either you, Robin, or Dave. But then I know, Robin, you've been engaged in both of them for some time too, so I don't want to just push you into them again. So we can think about that.
Yeah, we can figure it out, and that will be good, because also you have to think about the committee and yeah.
Right.
And do you offer any assistance to them? And as part of the meeting, the planning meeting, I would also like to just talk a little bit about process. That's going to be mine, because I think we made some really good improvements to the process. Like I thought pulling the budget together so early was really helpful, but yeah, so let's see if there are other improvements we can continue to make.
Agreed.
So as far as Board of Selectmen updates, I attended the Warren Committee meeting, and there's a lot of kind of over the summer planning work that they're trying to do, which will dovetail with some of the planning that we're trying to do next week as well. One of the things they're trying to get off the ground is revamping of the Blue Book and trying to really figure out what that process is. So almost putting together a detailed timeline, working backwards, so that we know what are some of the critical dates that we really need to hit. And then, they also talked about Chris helping find another printer. I think part of the problem that we faced was the technology that the printer uses. And so I think, that will definitely be a good summer project. So that's about all that I have.
You just sparked a second thought to me, and that is on the goals. Should we add to the list, discuss what our technology platform is going to be going forward? Is it going to be Google? Is it going to be Microsoft? Is it going to be Apple? And I just know that there's a lot of frustration with a lot of people over the Google situation. And so that's something we might want to talk about as well.
And that could be training.
It could be, yeah.
Without a doubt. I'm not predisposed to anything other than it can be done a lot better.
Right. And I think Mike, maybe I talked to you or Chris about this, was maybe even because we have a one day a week on-site support, and maybe let some of these committees know that there's on-site support one day a week. So you could bring your computer over, and an expert could kind of help you with setup.
Yeah, no, we've done that once so far, and we've talked about trying to offer that, not necessarily every week because we need him to, but
Right.
certainly every so often, yes.
Right.
Whether it's email setup or how to use Google
Right.
Drive. I know the ZBA took advantage of that and found it very, very helpful.
I'd be also interested in gaining access to the shared Board of Selectmen drive as well. I don't think I've got that yet.
It's super secret. We can't give it to you.
Back to that right to know,
on a
Cam,
need to know
sorry.
basis, yeah.
Right. You have to get the need to know coordinator.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that was silly.
Yeah. So the only thing I have is on the 3 to 5 committee that we're going to need to find 3 new volunteers.
I saw that, and I did get a volunteer for that committee, a Dover resident by the name of Lee Gesmer, and he would very much like to serve on that committee.
Excellent. You need 2 more, and so if you know anyone, Cam, great. And I've got a couple of lukewarm leads, but nothing in the bag yet.
Well, Chris was looking for material for the July newsletter, so he could also have a looking for.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Right. I mean, it'd be just I want to let everyone know about that. And then the only other one that I've been to was the building committee meeting. And after our executive, you guys are pretty plugged in there. But again, what we have not achieved substantial completion, which is a benchmark in the contract that controls the time delay. So this is all according to Dave Billings. I don't know how we can get a temporary CO and not be substantially complete, but that's where we are.
And do we have a temporary CO?
A temporary CO,
we do.
yes.
So
Yep.
we have staff in the building already, or no?
No, we don't. So it does allow that. However, the departments weren't comfortable. There's so much public interaction and interface. They didn't feel comfortable moving in yet, when it's still unknown when the public will be allowed in the building. So
Right,
we are
and
looking.
Right.
Sorry.
Plus,
Yeah.
they don't have furniture. It's nice to have chairs and desks.
Okay,
So,
all right.
they're just not ready yet. Some quick stats. About 98% of the construction is complete, but about 92% of the overall project is complete. So just to give you an idea of where they are.
Say that
Um,
again?
98% of the construction is complete,
Okay.
but only 92% of the overall project is complete.
Hmm.
So they still have 8% to go.
Hmm.
And we've paid out 90%. And then Igley started to go through numbers on the um, change orders and what the anticipated contingency was. It's ridiculously low. It's down around $500,000 now, but 250,000 is their plug for the extra landscaping. Remember the $20,000 that was value engineered out? Well, the bid came in at 371,000 to replace that. And again, this is my issue with Colliers. They seem to be arguing, oh, well, we should go ahead with this. And we're like, no, get them out of here. Get 2 or 3 local landscapers to bid on it. And you're going to get a result like La Pearl Painting did, going from 19,000 to 2,800, which included $800 of additional work. So we need to get the substantial completion and allow the contractor to move on. And that's just the background for why we had the executive, or part of the reason. The Stories attorney was there, and she's commented on the lighting. That is very much still a live issue on that issue. So they are still have yet to make the light adjustments. So this is part of the work that needs to be done. There's all kinds of setup and timers and brightness and direction that all those lights can have, and that it has to be done. So that was my big meeting.
So for me, I think the big event in the last week was that I went to the MMA, the Massachusetts Municipal Association course for newly elected select board members. And it was actually really quite interesting. I mean, they really worked on about 3 different focuses. The first one was understanding open meeting and public records law, which I'm sure that Nina is utterly familiar with. So it was helpful for me to get up to speed on that. One thing that I did discover was that I was hoping that sort of doing things in working groups might release us somewhat from the requirements of public meeting law, but they don't. We've still got to hold those in public, and they've got to be posted and all the rest. So that might be something we need to consider, for example, for the Blue Book working group that's being established, and I'm sure there are other ones, such as in the sustainability area, where they're trying to focus on different areas and have smaller working groups on them. But that was something that I was sort of surprised about. But I'm sure there's plenty of hidden gems in public meeting law that I've still got to learn. The
I
second,
didn't know about that, Cam. So a working group, you still have to post meetings and do minutes?
yeah, I got a document outlining that presentation that I will send to you, and they make it very explicit in there. It was presented by, I guess, a colleague of Nina's, who does the same thing in providing legal services to various municipalities. And she made a really good presentation, and I've got the presentation, so I'll forward it over to everybody to just peruse and get some interesting tidbits from that, at least from another perspective in terms of meeting law. The next area was setting goals and objectives, and we had a presentation from the town administrator of Andover, and he went through the goal setting and management process that Andover pursues And I've also got that presentation, which I'll forward on to you as well, because that is quite an interesting one and might be helpful for us to do a little bit of cheating on. But in general, I'm really was really quite impressed by the willingness of the MMA to really help us in any way they can, and I'm hoping to be more engaged with them going forward. I wasn't particularly engaged when I was on the warrant committee, but I think this is a useful institution that supports us, and we can support them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, they did a lot of education on the MBTA Communities Act, and I did sign up and register for quite a number of those sessions, and they were really very helpful. I
Right.
found them extremely informative. The panels were very well versed, so I agree with you. They are a great organization, and you can learn a lot.
Right. And the other nice thing about it was it sort of opens up the opportunity for networking with other people in other towns. So that's something I might avail myself of as well.
Right, we used to, as a town, go to the annual meeting. But once, I'm not even sure if they still have that in person.
They do,
But
yeah.
They
but
do.
that
It's
was
in October, I believe.
right. But that was a great way to meet other selectmen, and we would go out to lunch with the staff. You know, there's a lot of service providers trying to sell you their services, but
Needless to say, yeah.
there were some, yeah. But, you know, it was always nice to meet some fellow selectmen, and because we really most of us have the same issues.
Right, right. And some people have more experience down the pipeline of addressing them,
Right,
and that way I think we can, we don't necessarily have to sort of rebuild the wheel, as it were. We can lean on others to help us get there.
right.
Yeah, so that was all I had to report, but I thought that was quite an interesting meeting.
Well,
Good,
thank you for
good.
going, because that's just something I never got to.
I can't remember if I went 12 years ago.
The mists of time blur all of that.
Maybe I should go now and figure out all the stuff I should be
What am I
doing.
supposed to be doing?
But they've got some really interesting stuff on their site as well,
Right.
that it's worth perusing, and they've got a lot of documentation there. Documents that you can use as drafts for policy making or other things. So I found that really quite an interesting meeting, and I'm certainly planning to dredge that site a little bit more.
No,
But if I find stuff, I'll certainly forward it on.
that sounds great. And when you
No,
get
thank you.
access to the shared site, you can put the
I
information.
already have
up
it.
there.
I just went on. He's on now. Just to add to that, so the MMA is kind of the umbrella organization. They have the selectman piece, they have a manager's piece that Chris and I participated in. Again, same benefits, not only trainings but the networking, right?
Yes, right.
Is really helpful. So
Right.
I'm glad you went. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm just always impressed by the people giving the classes and the experience that they
Right,
have.
right.
All right, so we'll move along to town administrator updates. So is Friday the first Friday we're gonna be closed?
Yeah. So that thank you. That's
And
one of the
how convenient it falls after Juneteenth. So
yeah,
you
so
got
that
a
was
long
not
weekend.
on purpose. So it does work out. But yeah, so thanks, Robin. So this is the first week of our trial hours. So again, just I know no one's on here now, but if everybody watches this later, the board approved a two-phase trial starting this week. We will open at 8:30 a.m. each day. will stay open later on Tuesdays until 7 p.m. and be closed on Friday. We've communicated that through all our channels, social media, newsletter, email. We have signs up here. So hopefully, I'm sure some people will miss it, may show up Friday and we're not home, but hopefully word will get out and people will adjust to the new schedule. And we really do hope it's, we talked about, there's two reasons here. One, obviously, we are hopeful, and it's actually already been brought up in our recruitment of someone who's interested, of how that was a big draw for them to be interested in coming to Dover. But also flexibility for our residents. We have a lot of working residents who just can't get here outside of their working hours. So having that late night and slightly earlier morning, we hope will be a good benefit for residents as well.
Have you had any feedback on this change, Mike, or not?
So not from the outside yet. We did get feedback from board. We sought feedback from board and committees who were overwhelmingly positive, but from the public, not yet. I suspect the first few times someone comes on a Friday, we'll start to hear some feedback.
Yes,
That's when you're going to hear your first negative.
Yeah, right.
I came by, darn it.
Right. But I hope also maybe tomorrow night we'll get some people that are here and taking advantage of that late night. As we said, I think it'll take some time for people to adjust to it, but I think once it's out there, I think it'll be a good thing. So, also wanted to mention that Moody's, as the board knows, Moody's has issued and assigned a AAA rating to Dover. Both as for the town as a whole, but also specifically for our bonds that we'll be looking to issue. Hopefully at your meeting on Monday, we'll have documentation for that. So we're really excited, really appreciative to the finance team for all, we all worked together to get that done. It was a really nice team effort and really exciting. Thank you for the board for your support as we went through that process.
I think we've got to really express our gratefulness for the work you guys have done as well in making that happen. Clearly, it was an issue of significant concern for us, and I'm really impressed that you managed to pull it off. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris, and thank the team as well.
And I also appreciate the transparency in the process. As for the board, sometimes we're left out, which leads to questions, but the way the process was conducted was really helpful to me as a board member.
Yep.
Just understanding the whole process. I thought Hilltop, was very informative with the information that they provided. So really appreciate that.
Indeed.
Robin and Cam, for your own edification, the board brought in enough sugar to keep Chris and Mike awake for the next 4.5 weeks. But that was the AAA goodie package as a thank you from all of us. So
thank you.
Thank you very much. It was well received and well enjoyed. And Chris and I we're running here. We're ready to go all night.
What was in the package?
All sorts of bars and brownie and gingerbread men and cheesecake.
There were tarts and cupcakes and cookies and
a little bit of everything.
Yes,
great.
and I'd like to add that there's nothing left. All done.
I was just thinking that my teeth hurt.
So thank you. Appreciate that very, very much.
Well, thank you from all of us and sincerely. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And the last update I had was just the board is aware, but for the public's benefit, the Massachusetts Drought Management Task Force met last week and did vote and recommended Dover's region, which is the southeast region, I believe, return to a level 0 no drought status. So we quickly removed the drought signs from our roadways, and those restrictions have been lifted.
Right. I did notice that the Cape is still in a level 1 drought, I believe.
Yeah, I think the Cape is
still
actually
orange.
level 2.
Right,
Yeah,
there's
level
still
2, the Cape, and the
orange.
islands are level 1. Yeah, they've not received the same rainfall we have, and their groundwater has not rebounded the way ours has. So
Right. You know, because I feel as though it just rains every weekend, but then my husband corrected me and said we don't get substantial rain every weekend. It may
Yeah.
rain, but it's not.
yeah, and it did take me. I know we forget over the winter, but we've been in a drought since last August.
Right.
And it does take a lot of that, as you said, substantial rain to dig out of that.
Well, we were
Right.
also 6 or 7 inches behind, so to
Right.
catch up, it's not rocket science. You need 7 inches of rain above what you normally need.
Right.
Right.
And that's all I had.
Right.
Good.
All right. So then the last item of business is the consent agenda. And it's a short one. Thank you, Mona. And that consists of the following: to approve 2025 special one-day liquor licenses for June 22nd, 26th, and 26th, July 7th, 9th, 11th, 2 on the 14th, 1 on the 16th, 17th, and 26th. So I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
hi, Dave Haviland.
I Cam Hudson.
And with that, I will thank you all, and I will make another motion, and that is to adjourn this evening's meeting.
One quick question
Oh,
before
go ahead.
you do that, Robin. Mona, I'm not going to be in town for the rest of this week. I'm going to be in San Francisco, so I won't be able to sign those liquor license approvals. Is that problematic for you? Do I need to come up with some other way of
No,
getting
Kim, as
approval?
long as Robin and Dave come in to sign, then we're good with two.
Pressure
Okay,
is on
great.
me
Thank
to
you.
come in, and Dave,
Yes.
Tuesday and Wednesday only.
Please.
Yeah, Kim, appreciate that your concern. Just for your benefit, as long as we have a quorum of signatures, the document is valid. So just
Okay,
if we
great.
get two, but thank you.
So is there no way to accept electronic signatures on these items?
So I believe the board could vote to sign things that way, and we are actually working through some electronic signature process even internally. So that may be something we could look at.
Right, because you can get certified electronic signatures.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
It just, I always feel badly, like Cam's going away and when I'm away, and then sometimes I just, to be honest, forget, and Mona has to track me down. You know, and it was always easy because I could show up on Friday. I can't do that anymore, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, particularly our internal documents like the liquor licenses, that's something we could definitely look in. I think that would be an issue. Some of the other documents like the agreements and contracts
Right.
with other parties,
Right,
that might still
right.
be a hard copy. But
Right.
No, I get that. Okay, we can add that as a goal.
Yes,
you go.
exactly.
All right, you
All
need to
right.
vote.
Yep, so I move to adjourn. Oh, did we second it?
Yep, it's
All in
seconded.
favor, I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
I Cam Hudson.
And just a reminder, in person, Monday, 23rd, 2 p.m.
Yes.
You'll appreciate that I'm coming back from San Francisco just for that meeting, because the day after I'm going to Australia. So
Not for the pizza?
I'll be here for the pizza too. I'll enjoy some pizza too.
Okay, good, good. All right.
Oh, boy. All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Well, have a good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.